All right, I have 10 o'clock Eastern time, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar. You're still welcome to introduce yourself in the chat throughout. We'll be using the chat to ask questions. We'll get into that in just a minute. So good morning, everyone. I'm Ryan Weinkoop. I'm the Educational Technology Advisor for Purdue Extension. Thank you for taking time to hop on this webinar today. We'll keep it to under an hour or less. I know you all have a lot of things on your calendar and schedule, but it's important to take time out to learn about some new tools that can help us be a little better at our job or help us serve our clientele a little better. So that's what we're going to do today with Google Tools for Extension. I did call it Google Tools for Purdue Extension, but we have some Extension colleagues from across the nation joining us here this morning. So these tools are applicable to anyone, anywhere in Extension. So if I say Purdue Extension, just insert your own institution's name. So before we begin, just a few ground rules for us and housekeeping. Do keep yourself muted. You were set to be automatically muted when you joined the webinar, but you are welcome to unmute yourself as to ask questions or provide comments. You're absolutely welcome to do that, but please do keep yourself muted for the listening quality of everyone else. You can ask questions by typing in the chat, or again, you can unmute yourself to ask questions. This webinar is being recorded, so please do keep that in mind. And as we go throughout, there's going to be, as I mentioned, we have extension professionals from across the nation, but we also have a wide variety of people on here with different job responsibilities. So a lot of these tools are going to be applicable to everyone, but you'll use them in different ways. So I'm going to share some ideas on how we can use the tools, but I want all of you to pitch in and share ideas, even if you have just an idea of how you might use a tool, so just share it and help other people think about how they might use the tools as well. As I mentioned, this will be recorded, and I will have a handout that I'll share here in the chat in a little bit, but the recording and any resources that I share today will be put on the Purdue Extension EdTech blog. The link is up here on the screen, and you can access that. Anyone can access that. You don't have to be from Purdue Extension to see it, but that's where that will go, and you'll be able to access it later on. So today we have a few simple objectives. It's going to be short. Like I mentioned, we'll keep it to under an hour if at all possible, but it'll be fueled by your questions as well. So we're going to first look at the tools that are available from Google. I'm sure all of you have probably used something from Google before. And then we'll talk about some specific ones and how they can be used in Extension, how we might be able to use them. And then we'll play with the tools if we have time at the end, which we should. But we can play with them throughout. You can ask questions, but I want to make sure you all have time, since you have this hour blocked off on your calendar, that you can be intentional about playing with and exploring and experimenting with these tools while I'm here to help answer questions, or while other people can answer questions. So I'm going to throw up a quick poll here in just a minute, so you can play along. But here on the screen are some Google tools that are available from Google. Some of them might not be useful to us. Some of them would be. But there are 67 different tools here on the screen, and we obviously don't have time to cover all of those. So I have picked 5 tools out that we will be able to use. As soon as you log off of this webinar, you'll be able to immediately use these tools. They're simple, they're easy, there's multiple different uses. And so those are Google Keep, Google Sites, Google Drive, Forms, and Groups. So I'm going to put a quick poll up here. So it looks like pretty much almost everyone has used Google Drive. People familiar with Google Forms. A few of you use Google Keep, that's good. And then Sites and Groups, not a lot of people have used. So that's kind of what I expected. Close that out. So that's what we will dive into right now. All the tools I'm going to show you today, you can use without having a Google account as a participant in most cases. But if you want to create within these tools like I'm going to show you today, you do need a Google account. So if you don't already have one, you can create one for free. You can go to this link here on the screen, and it'll walk you through the steps to get that set up. Once you do that, you will have a a Gmail account, and then you'll be able to access all these tools and create, just as I'm going to do today. This is a handout to accompany this. There's more tools in here that you can use. I'm not going to cover all these, of course, but the ones we are going to cover are here. This is the link to sign up for the account, and then here are different tools that you can use, and this is the link to access them. So I wanted to make sure you had that, and you can see some other tools as we enter our playtime at the end. To Google Keep. So a few of you said you have used Google Keep before. But Google Keep is just a simple note-taking app is all it really is. But it allows you to take notes with text. You can create checklists. You can add images with notes. You can add audio notes if you like those. The cool part about Google Keep is that you can collaborate with others to take notes quickly. So I use Google Keep more personally than professionally, but I'll show you my Google Keep in just a minute. But Google made a site to explain Google Keep. So here's examples. Google Keep, you can have an app on your phone or you can use it from your web browser, and I'll show you that in a minute. Here's just examples. You can have just a text note, you can have checklists, you can do images with notes, and you can do audio notes. The other cool feature about Google Notes is you can actually have location-based reminders. So if you write yourself a list and you need to remember to pick something up the next time you go to a store, you can set it to say the next time I go to Walmart, this note will pop up and it'll say buy dog food. So you can remind yourself. So that's a nice, neat little feature. You can also set reminders for specific days and times. So I have actually a reminder set for every Sunday at 7 p.m. to remind me to water my plants in case I forget. This is the cool feature that I like, though, and I think you might be able to use quite frequently in Extension, but you can create checklists and you can share that list with others. And then, so for example, if you're going to buy supplies for an event and the whole office is working on it, or you're working with other colleagues on an event, you can have this collaborative checklist of supplies that you'll need. And as that person's going to the store to do the shopping, you can keep adding items to it instead of sending that text saying, hey, don't forget to get paper plates. And then they forget about the text and you don't get paper plates and people have to eat off a paper towel. Who has ever done that? I have. So you can have this list and everyone can add to it. And as a person's there shopping, they can click on the list and check the things off that they've already bought. So you can see there's no need for text messages back and forth, etc. And then, like I mentioned, you can access this on your phone or your computer. So I use it a lot for my personal grocery shopping list. So as I'm at my desk during the day and I think of something, I'll add it to my Google Keep real fast. Then I'm at the store, I open the app on my phone, and I've got my list right there. So it's always within reach. So I'll show you my Google Keep. I cleaned it up a little bit. It's still messy, but I cleaned it up significantly, so it should look a little better. We might load. Here we go. So I share a lot of links. So when I see something on Twitter that I like or an article I want to read later, I share it straight to Google Keep so I go back and read it later. I've got random notes here. Here's my grocery list. So you can see here as I check things off, it goes away, it disappears, or you can add it back on. Here's an example of a note that's also, you can draw images if you need to, but you can collaborate. So I've added my EdTech email as a collaboration. So you can have multiple people in here. You can draw pictures if you need to, if that's ever useful for you, delete them, whatever you need to do. So that's just another feature that's available. But the collaboration is super simple. You just click collaborator and you type in the person's email address, and that's it. You click save and you're done. You can change the colors of notes, all that kinds of stuff. So lots of different options, lots of different ways you can use it. It's up to you to decide how you might want to use it. Is there any questions on that?
This is Rosie again.
Yeah.
So on the collaboration, does it have to be an email that they've used to log into their Google account with?
You know what, honestly, I've never tried to add anyone that hasn't. I'll just try adding you right now. How about that?
I do have a Google address, so let's see if it fits.
Let's try a Purdue one. Looks like it. You probably will get an email, but it'll probably get stuck in our spam filter, of course.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so you can add Gmail addresses or other email addresses.
Okay, thanks.
So moving on, Google Sites. So not a lot of people have mentioned they'd use Google Sites before. So I think this one's going to be a pretty valuable tool for a lot of us. And so I've got some examples here. Google Sites is basically a really simple way to create a quick website for something. So you can do whatever you need to, and I'll show you some ways that you could possibly use it. But the great feature is that it allows collaboration. So you have multiple editors. You can have multiple people editing a website. So let me show you what that looks like. So it's just a website, nothing fancy, just a regular link here at the top. But I've created this site just as a dummy site, and I can go ahead and put that in the chat. If you want to click around on it, you're welcome to do that. Put that in there. So you can create different pages. You can change the layout. You can change the header, whatever you want to do, add images, all this kinds of different stuff. So for example, you could use this for workshops. So I created a workshop page and just had some ideas here. So you can, if you've got a workshop, you can add the registration link. You can put PDFs, so if you're going to send out a publication. You can add your slides if you have your slides done before your presentation, but whoever has your slides done before the presentation. Handouts that you might have, so any kind of Google Docs, all that kind of stuff. You can do multiple different layouts. You can put videos if you're going to have supplementary videos. You can link to external websites. So you can do that. So, if you give a workshop over and over and over, this can sort of be your landing page or home base for that workshop. And you can simply distribute this link to your participants and say, all the materials and resources are here. So you don't have to worry about emailing it out after or including all the attachments. You just send the link and they can go to it anytime, anywhere they have internet access, because these sites are mobile compatible. So for another example, you could use it as sort of an event landing page. If you're doing a free event or free workshop, you can embed a Google form, which we'll talk about Google Forms. So you can put the registration right here. They can register, ask whatever questions you need to. You can put a map to the event. You can put other information. Again, you can add those handouts or flyers or whatever else you want on this page. It's very versatile. You can add images. And then again, you can have multiple collaborators on the site. So if you have a couple people planning an event, they can all get in here and edit it and all that kinds of stuff. Another cool feature of Google Sites is you can actually sort of lock it down. So you can have an internal page, sort of an intranet, what it's commonly referred to. So for example, if you're going to have a Master Gardener group, you can create this sort of locked down Master Gardener page that only they can access, and they have to be able to log in to see it. So you could add your internal documents and things there, or a local group can just create a website for themselves for free. There's a lot of options. I'll show you how I used Google Sites for a workshop. So back in 2018, I presented at the Extension Homemakers Association state conference. So I did a session there on different Google tools they could use for the home. And so here I created this sort of example site of a Google site, but I also used it to put all of my emails or all my materials and everything here. So I did 2 sessions that day. So I put my handout here and all of my slides so they could access it. I just gave this link then and they distributed it to all the participants so they could come and see the slides, everything I talked about, different tools I put here that I explained and explored. So you can see it's just a quick way then to distribute a link to people so that way they can get the information you need. Good question, Terry. So what's the benefit of using Sites versus Spark and Sway? Well, Sites, the big feature about Sites is that it allows multiple collaborators. So if I go back here, let me go to my Sites page. So I'll show you what the back end looks like. So this is what it looks like when you create. So again, you do have to have a Google account in order to create a Google site. So if I go here, so I created this little quick page for this webinar. So in Google Sites, you can add collaborators and they can all collaborate. So I know in Spark, I don't think they have collaboration yet. I haven't been in there for a few weeks. Maybe they've added it. But so to collaborate on a design, it's not very easy. So it's really up to you what you decide, how you want to use it. But the Google Sites is just a little more versatile because you can embed documents and presentations and stuff like that as well. I know you can do that in Sway too. Good question, Tony. Thank you for bringing that up because I was going to mention this. So Tony asked, if we use this, at what point do we need to be concerned about branding policies? So for my Purdue Extension folks who are on here, these Google Sites are not meant to replace an official Purdue University or Purdue Extension webpage. This is more of a learning tool. So you can distribute your educational materials and make it easier on yourself and your learners, or to use that internal sort of intranet kind of website. So I mean, you can add the official logo, the Purdue Extension logo. You can change it out. This is just the one I used. But if it is a Purdue affiliated thing, just like when we make a handout or whatever, you want to make sure we follow the Purdue Extension branding policies and stuff like that. So, but Google Sites is not to replace any official Purdue University or Purdue Extension website. So don't go rogue and use a Google site to make a program page or anything like that. So again, Google Sites, it's drag and drop. So to edit it, it's very, very simple. Here you see I mentioned there's multiple layouts. You can add multiple images. It's all drag and drop. You can add text boxes. You can add, again, you can add Google Calendars, maps, videos, all this kinds of stuff. So you can just click around and play with it. You can add as many pages as you want. There's different themes. I always use this Aristotle theme because it's sort of black and gold and matches more of the Purdue theme. So that's just a bunch of different options. And then you can share it with others very easily. This is how you can change it so other people can edit it. You can lock it down so nobody can find it, or they have to have the link, or only specific people can see it. So a bunch of different options. You just have to play around with it. It depends on your needs. You can preview it, so it'll show you what it looks like in various different platforms. So it'll show you like a tablet and a phone and all that stuff. So quick and easy way to share information with learners. Oh, Terry, I mean, like, don't use, so Terry's confused about not using it. So don't use a Google site for example, we wouldn't want to use a Google site for the Small Farms Conference. We'd want to use an official Purdue Extension or Purdue University website for that. So use, things like that. Don't go make a Google site page for, an official Purdue Extension signature program or whatever. Use it more. Yeah, there you go. All right. Let's move on. Google Drive. I'm not going to go too in depth on this because I think pretty much everyone who responded to the poll has used Google Drive before. So Google Drive, again, it's easy file storage. We have tons of file storage available to us, cloud storage. Some of you probably use Dropbox or Box.com. You might use your Microsoft OneDrive that has storage. We all have our network drives. So Google Drive is just another storage option, easy file storage and sharing. So the question I always get all the time is, are we allowed to use Google Drive for our extension activities? And the answer is yes. If you are collaborating on a Google Doc, if you're all working together on a Google Slides presentation or whatever it is, you can absolutely use Google Drive for that. The only thing you have to be careful about is collecting information and storing information. I don't think we'll have any problems with this. For example, if you're collecting social security numbers for some reason, which you probably shouldn't be, and you're storing that in Google Drive, that is a huge no-no, basically because Google hosts that information and someone could break into it and steal it. So any information like that, Purdue has policies. That's another webinar entirely. But if you're using Google Drive just to collaborate on documents or share documents with the public as a quick way to share things, it's perfectly acceptable to do that. So there's nothing too awful in depth about Google Drive. I'll show you mine. It's kind of a mess, but I use mine personally and professionally. So when you sign up for your free Google account, you automatically get 15 gigabytes of storage for free. I've upgraded because I use mine for personal and professional stuff. So for $20 a year, you can get 100 gigabytes of storage, which you can see here I've only used about a quarter of that, but I'm more than 15. So this is where I store everything. It's kind of a mess. I need to go through and clean it out. But so Marion asked earlier in a message where the registration information goes. It ends up in your Google Drive. I'll go more in depth in that in just a minute. But you can see you can create folders, you can color code things, all that kinds of stuff. So it's pretty simple to use, but if you have any questions about it, of course, feel free to ask me. So the only reason I mentioned Google Drive is because you do need to have a Google Drive if you're going to use a Google site. Of course, Google wants you to use their products, so they make it very easy to add a file from Google Drive into your Google site. So like if you want to share a PDF, you first have to add it to your Google Drive so that you can add to your Google site. That's just, Google wants you to use all of their stuff. So just take that into consideration. All right, Google Forms. So I know a few of you have used Google Forms before. For those of us at Purdue who have Qualtrics, that's our survey tool. Google Forms is basically a stripped down, easy version of Qualtrics. Much easier than Qualtrics. Now, Qualtrics has a lot more features, so if you need some of those features for more in-depth research study or something like that, you'll want to use Qualtrics, but there's absolutely no reason why you can't use Google Forms for simple surveys or simple program evaluations, how do we do kind of thing. You can absolutely use that if you want. You don't have to use Qualtrics. So Forms is very basic though. You only have 5 question types. You get multiple choice, a short answer. You can insert date and time. You can do a file upload. So if you need something more in depth, like I said, you're going to want to go with Qualtrics. So the question asked earlier is, when someone fills out a Google form, where does that information go? Well, when they fill out the form, it actually goes into the Excel version of Google, which is called Sheets. So the information is automatically added to a spreadsheet for you, and it's in your Google Drive, which is another nice feature because then you can easily, quickly share this sheet with anyone you need to. So for example, if you're doing a free program and you're using Google Forms to create a simple free registration, all that information goes into a Google Sheet. You can set the sharing privileges on that, share a link with anyone that needs it. They can all check then registration, how it's going, who's registered, all that stuff. So it makes it super simple. I use Google Forms in kind of a different way. I use it to help me with my reporting because we all have reporting we have to do, right? So I use this. I made a quick, easy Google form to ask the date, what I did, if it was a workshop, all that stuff, how many participants, any other random stuff I have. And then I could submit that. And then it goes to, I'll show you this. I've been bad. I haven't updated it for a while. But when you're in edit mode, you can go and see the responses. So it shows this isn't very helpful. But this is what it looks like when you collect responses. So you can see here, it's just a basic Excel sheet and it all is collected in there. And so then I can go back and I can, go through and remind myself of what I did and add those numbers and all that stuff. So that's one way you can do it. But the Google Forms are nice because they're also automatically mobile compatible and they're super easy to create. It's all, it's drag and drop. You can add questions at the click of a button. Pretty simple. And then, like I said, it's for basic question types, so it's nothing intense. There have been some people looking at Google Forms to use it. For those of us at Purdue, Qualtrics is being evaluated, and we may or may not have Qualtrics in the future. So if that scares you and you're concerned and you can use Google Forms for stuff, feel free to use Google Forms. We'll know more information on that soon, hopefully. But they also have templates here that you can look at and use, and you can modify the colors and all that stuff. So, all right, any questions on that? So the last one, like I said, some of these tools will be useful to everyone. Some of them are more specific to certain things that some of us do. So one question I always get is people want to be able to help create sort of a community, a discussion board, a discussion group type thing for, maybe a Master Gardener cohort sort of thing. And so Google Groups is a way to do that. And so for those of us that used the internet back in late 90s and 2000s, discussion forums were a huge thing. They're still pretty big in a lot of areas, but this is sort of an old school throwback to discussion boards. It's very simple, very easy. You can create different topics so people can get in and discuss. You can change the name of the room, put a description. You can moderate things. So, if people are ornery in there, you can kick them out or block them or delete things. You can set it so you have to approve messages. But so you can see here, you can ask questions, people can reply. You can add images, all kinds of stuff. So you can see it can be an educational tool. So if you've got a group, a cohort that's going through this month-long program, they can get in there and share reflections or share images and all kinds of different stuff. And it's pretty easy to use too. So I just wanted to show that because I know a few folks on here might find that, oops, you want to do that. A few folks on here might find Google Groups a useful tool for some things they do. You can set this to be public. So for example, if you wanted to create a Google group about urban ag, you could create a Google or urban ag Google group, and people in there can get there and discuss urban ag, whatever they want to do. But you can also lock it down so it can be private, so only certain people that you invite can be in it. So for example, again, like I said, if you've got that Master Gardener cohort, you can invite only those people and only they can get into it and find it. So it makes it nice that way. Okay. That was just a quick overview. Like I mentioned, I just wanted to give you a taste of each tool, and then I wanted you to be able to play with it to ask more questions. So at this time, what I'd like you to do is play around with one of those tools, or if you haven't created your account, do that, or ask me questions about anything else Google tools related, or share your ideas. If anyone has any ideas or ways they would use these tools, please share those now.
Ryan, can you share that link to the Purdue Extension contact site you want us to use? You had it like on your first or second slide. I think you were saying that's where you're posting things for us.
This one.
That one.
That one, yeah.
So we should look there for information on
Yeah,
that.
once this is done, and for Purdue Extension folks, I'll also put an article in the e-news, so that way you'll see it there too. But everyone who's registered for this, I will also send a direct email to with the link, recording link.
Thank you.
Yep. Jason, great question. So Jason asked if for Google Sites, can you customize the site URL? Yes, you can create, you can change the ending. So the free version, basically, it's sites.google.com/ whatever you want to call it. But there is an option. So if you own a domain, if you own extension.purdue.edu, there's a way you can integrate that to create that custom link, but that would take a little more coordination and stuff like that, and University IT would probably have to get involved, so it's probably not a good option. But let me show you.
It was just there, custom URL.
Yeah, you can also use a tiny URL. You could also do that. But here, so when you're done with your site, you click publish. So for example, here you can do a custom URL, so it gives you information here, but you have to be able to link to your domain and all that stuff. But otherwise, you can just do /test. So that's already been taken. It'll also tell you if it's already been taken, but you can call it whatever you want. It'll just be this right here / whatever you call it. And then like Julie mentioned, great suggestion, you can take that long link and make it into a short link.
Ryan, in Google Keep, if you're keeping like all your notes there, how do you invite someone like just to one of your keeps instead of all of them?
Yeah, so you just click, oops, I already had that open. So you just select the specific note that you want to share. So select the specific note and you click the collaborator button.
Okay.
And then you put your email address in, and that shares only that note. Great question, Terry. So for collaboration on a project, what are your options on using the Google Suite instead of Basecamp? I don't know if there would be any one tool that could sort of replace Basecamp with Google, because Basecamp's sort of a combination of a Google group, because you can discuss, and also Google Keep, because then you can set specific reminders and notes, and then also Google Drive, because you can deposit documents. I know Basecamp integrates with Google Drive, so I don't know if there would be a... You always ask me these hard questions, Terry.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you had any opinion on which would work better, using the Google Drive for the collaboration or Basecamp, knowing that they do interface with each other.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the project you're working on, really. I mean, if you're working on an actual, long-term project, you can use Basecamp to assign tasks and set deadlines and share information. But if you're just, a group of you who are working on a handout for a presentation, you just use a Google Sheet and Google Drive. I guess, I don't know. It just kind of varies. In my opinion, it just kind of varies on what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I'm still trying to maneuver all of the different things we have access to. So
same. There's a question here. Is there any concern regarding security of documents? So that's, Marion, that's what I mentioned. Sharing, or when you store information in Google Drive, you determine who has access to it by changing the sharing settings. So for example, I'll create a quick Google Doc here. So you determine who has access to that, or you can create a folder and share everything that's in that folder has the same shared sharing privileges. But again, like I said, when you put stuff in Google Drive, it's on Google's servers. So, someone breaks in there, and gets that information. Not that, a lot, if we're doing a seed starting workshop, they're going to get probably bored with that. But if it's on Purdue servers, the information's here on campus. It's a little more, they can still break into that too if they really wanted to, but you just have to decide. There shouldn't really be any issues. And if someone really wants into your information, they're going to get in there probably one way or another. So But you can share, oops. So by default, all Google Docs are only shared with just you, and then you can then share the privileges. So I can share this link like I shared the handout with all of you. You can just copy this link and people can view it, or you can change it so they can edit or just comment. There's a bunch more options, so you can set it so it's just on the web. Anyone can find it. So, you probably wouldn't want that on if it's more of an internal kind of thing, but it varies. It depends on what you're doing. And like I said, if someone really, really wants to get into your information, they'll find a way to do it. Any other questions or ideas? Or here's those other tools from Google that we haven't talked about. Like I said, there's a lot of things out there. Google Calendar is nice because you can have shared calendars. You can embed those in a Google site. You can put it on any other website. Of course, there's Docs, Sheets, Slides, all that kinds of stuff. Google Maps we've probably all used at some point or have heard of. Google Voice is one that I didn't talk about today. I found Google Drive. Yeah. So Tony said he found Google Drive and Docs a great way to collaborate on a project with volunteers this past winter. Yeah. And it's really, Google tries to make things as easy as possible, because if they're hard and nobody can figure out how to use it, no one's going to use it. So they try and make it simple. There's, some of them have a lot of options. There's a lot of things to look at and figure out. But in general, to send, a Google Doc to someone for them to edit, it's pretty simple. Yeah. Sonia, you raised your hand.
Yeah. Do you know on the Google Calendar, when you incorporate it into a site, if you have access to a shared Outlook calendar, can you import that shared Outlook calendar into the Google Calendar to incorporate onto the site?
Yeah, so I need to look into this again, because there used to be, a couple years ago, it was super simple to sort of get an Outlook and Google Calendar to talk together. So like you wouldn't have to keep two calendars. So like if you use Google for your personal calendar and Outlook for your work, and they talked really well together. And then at some point, Google and Microsoft don't play together well sometimes. And so that stopped being a feature. And someone asked about it at a presentation I was given a couple weeks ago, and I haven't had a chance to look into it yet. I've messed around with it, but it got super clunky and it duplicated all my events on my calendar and it turned into a mess. So I have not found a good way to do that yet. If anyone else on here has, please share.
Because, what I was thinking with the sites, I have program assistants. I work for the nutrition education program, and to be able to share their schedule and where they're at program-wise with my agencies that call in looking for new programming, to be able to just import their calendars and have a place to send to the agency and say this is what their availability is. Yeah, would be really nice.
Yeah, that would be super handy. Yeah, I need to dig into that, because it would be useful. So that way you wouldn't have to take everything from an Outlook calendar and manually put it on a Google Calendar. Yeah, that's a great question. Sorry, I don't have an answer for you.
Oh no, that's all good. Thanks.
Kind of on that thread, I had posted something on Slack, I think it was yesterday. I saw that there's an add-on that you can do to interface Outlook with Google Drive, so you can save things directly to your drive. But we need admin permissions to do that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wondering if you see that as something that we could tap into.
Yeah, it might be. Oops. Yeah, I have to look into that, because that would be useful. The one thing I did forget to mention, actually I need to get out of here, for Google Forms, you can actually do add-ons. And I'm sorry, I completely skipped over this point when I was talking about that. But another way that I use Google Forms, I'm the chair of an endowment committee, and people have to request, they have to submit a request for funds for the endowment. And so basically what there's an add-on in Google Forms that you can do. And when someone submits that form, it then automatically generates an email to the 4 people that have to approve it. And in that email is a simple approve or deny. And once everyone has clicked approve or deny, it sends a summary to the person who has to cut the check, and it's done. So that's a nice feature in Google Forms that Qualtrics doesn't have. But you can look around actually in Google Forms. I'll show you this real quick. So when you're creating your forms and you're in edit mode, it looks like this. It's kind of hidden. So earlier I said Google tries to make it as easy as possible, except this is a little hidden. So if you look up here, you click the 3 little dots, and there's a button. Oops, my Zoom window keeps getting in the way. There's 3 little dots, and it says add-ons. And you can take some time to look through here to see what it is you might want to do. But all these add-ons are available, and it's basically something extra that you put on Google Forms to have it do something else. So for example, this add-on is form confirmation emails. So it's an add-on that produces professional confirmation emails for Google Forms. So for example, if you're doing that program registration, people will fill out the Google form, and then this add-on you can customize to make a professional looking auto-generated email to that person saying, thanks for registering, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. I mean, you can look through here and see what all you can do. There's tons and tons of add-ons. So you are all, again, welcome to keep playing, keep clicking around, keep asking questions. I do understand if you do need to leave, please feel free to go if you need to, but I will hang on here and answer questions until 11 o'clock.